तू पहा ग.
क्लिअर आहे.
लावून ठेव थोड्या वेळ. लावून ठेव थोड्या वेळ. आवाज ठीक आहे. किती लोक पाहिले वॉचिंग? तेवढं ते जास्त झाल्यावर सांग. 25 झाले. So good morning dear students. Today we'll try to understand the basics of C language, as this particular language is introduced in the first year. Reason for that is it is going to be the basics for all the languages that you are going to study in future. So especially for the students of electronics and computer science with all artificial intelligence, IoT, ECM and so on, this language is going to earn bread and butter for you in future. Don't neglect this particular language, and this will be very interesting language. You will enjoy the language or learning of this particular language once you understand the concepts very well. So we'll try to focus more on the concepts, and then today we'll try to understand why this language was developed, who has developed this particular language, and then what are the uses of this particular language. I'll also take you through a new compiler, which is an online compiler wherein you can directly type the program and execute the program. So you need not to install any software in order to run this particular program using C language. So let's try to get into details of this. Why exactly we have to learn C language, or what exactly we mean by a programming language? Why one has to learn a programming language? This may be a question for you, as we are the beginners learning this particular computer language for the very first time. So a lot of questions may arise wherein we discuss all those in detail. The first question may be like, why I have to learn C programming language or any programming language? The answer for that is, as we know, in order to communicate between the human beings, or if two persons wants to communicate with each other, we need to know a common language. So either both of them should know English language, both of them should know Telugu, Hindi, Marathi, Kannada, whatever. In the same way, when you want to communicate with a computer, so you should know a language which a computer can understand. So the language which our computer understands is basically what we call it as a binary language. So our computer understands only a language, what you call it as binary language, a language which is in the form of zeros and ones. Now for a human being, in order to remember the code in zeros and ones may be very difficult for us. So I can't remember something like, if I have to say 1, I have to write like this. If I have to say 2, I have to write like this. If I have to write 3, I should write like this. So it is very difficult for us to remember the codes which are written in binary language. So what the developers have done is, they said computer understands binary language. Human being can very well remember something called a high level language, which will be similar to that of your English language and so on. So as a human being now, we are going to communicate with the computer using a high level language, which is as good as an English language. And then on the other side, you have a computer which only understands a binary language. So it is a case like a person knows English on one side and the other person knows only Japanese. So if a person who knows Japanese wants to communicate with a person who knows only English, is it possible? First question. The answer for that, definitely it is possible. In what way it is possible? So if I have to communicate with a person who knows only Japanese, then what I have to do is, I need to make use of a person in the middle who understands English as well as Japanese. So what I require in between is, I require something called a translator in the middle. So what will be the role of this translator? The role of this particular translator will be, he has to convert this binary language into a high level language, and this high level language back into binary language and so on. So that is what exactly is done in computers. So as I said, we as a human being, we are going to speak high level language, what I can call it as HLL. On the other side, computer understands binary language. I can also call it as low level language. So in between the high level language and the low level language, in order to convert high level into low level and then low level back into high level, we are going to now make use of something called a translator. So what will be the role of this translator? The role of the translator is to translate our language, which we can write using English, to a language which computer understands and so on. So that is how we have introduced something called a translator, and these translators, when it comes to C language, C++ and all, we call them as compilers. So the name of the translator, we don't use the word here translator, instead we make use of a word here called compiler. So we are going to make use of compiler so that when you type a program, this translator, what you call it as a compiler, will take your program, will convert into a form which your computer understands. That is binary language. And then the result generated by computer, which will be again in the form of binary language, will be translated back by this compiler to a language which a human being can understand, which is English-like language and so on. So this is how we can communicate with a computer. Now a question that comes is, why is that I need to communicate with the computer? See, you need to remember, computer on its own can perform nothing. It's like an idiot box. It does nothing without we as a human being instruct the computer to perform something. So if I want the computer to perform some task, it is very much essential for me to communicate with the computer. So when I can communicate with the computer, then I can tell the computer, this is what I require from you and so on. Now again, you may also ask a question like, why is that I should communicate with the computer? Why is that I should make a work to happen with the help of a computer? So basically we are talking about why to make use of a computer. So dear students, I can ask you some questions over here. Computer, when you make use of, can perform things in much better way than a human being. So you may say, how? After all, computers are designed and developed by human being. So who is great? Human being is great or computer? Answer for that, definitely human being, because we created a computer. But then a question that comes, why is that then when we are having more capacity than a computer, we are trying to make use of a computer? So many reasons for that. I can put you some questions like, who has got more memory? We got more memory or the computer has more memory? So what will be your answer? Memory in the sense, who can store more data? You can store more data or a computer can store more data? So the answer again, as we know, we use only our brain in terms of percentage. If you calculate, it is 4%, 5%, 6%. If someone makes use of 6 or 7, 8%, then he is called as a superman. So we have more memory when compared to a computer. But then still we are dependent on a computer to store the data. We have memory, we do remember a lot of things over there. But if you do remember where you studied your LKG, UKG, what you have done, who was your teacher there in LKG, who taught you mathematics in the first standard, second standard, third standard, you may remember the location of your school and so on. So that means you are able to remember what you have done some 12 to 14 years back, which probably a computer may not, because we store the data in terms of some hard disk and so on. There is every chance that a virus may attack that hard disk, so on, so on. But still, we say the memory of computer is great. Reason for that is, we can remember the things right from our LKG, what we have done and so on. But if someone questions you, yes, my dear student, where were you on 1st of January 2002? Where were you on 1st of January 2005? How is that you celebrated a party of a new year in 2001? Can we replicate? Can we give the answer for this in precise? The answer for that is no. Okay, if I ask a question like, how is that you have celebrated your 10th birthday? How is that you have celebrated your 15th birthday? we may not able to replicate exactly what we have done on that particular day. But if you ask the same question to a computer, give me the result of a particular student. Out of lakhs of students, it will immediately get the result of that particular student about which you are asking. So that is where we say the memory of a computer is powerful when compared to a human being. Though we remember the things, we may not able to replicate or get back the things exactly in the same form if a question is asked to us. The reason we say computer memory is better than our memory and so on. Okay, let's try to discuss about one more aspect over there. Speed. Who can perform the task faster? You or the computer? A question like if I give you to perform addition, if I say 100 plus 200, you may give the answer very fast within a second or less than that, saying 300. Then again, why is that we are dependent on computer for the speed? If I ask you a question, today we know most of them are studying mathematics in terms of abacus and so on. Those students will give us the result in much faster than a computer. Then why we are dependent on computers again? Reason for that is, if I ask you one question or two questions or 100 questions, you may able to answer because you know abacus and all, you may able to do that at a faster rate than a computer. But if I try to give you the work which prolongs for number of days, say 5 days work, wherein every day you are supposed to perform calculation from the morning till night, then what happens? Is it possible for us to do that? The answer for that again, no. In spite of I knowing abacus, in spite of I doing the work faster, it may not be possible for me to give the answer for a particular task after 2 days or after a day the same way as I give on the first day. That means we as a human being has got a tendency to tire. We become tired after doing some work. But if you ask a computer to perform some thousands and thousands of calculations day and night for number of days, number of months, it is going to perform. And it is going to give you the result with the same accuracy as it has done for the very first calculation and so on, which may not be the case with human being and so on. The reason we say computers work faster than a human being and so on. So when a computer works faster than a human being, when computer can store more amount of data when compared to a human being, as we set the problem, then why not I need to make use of a computer? So because of these reasons, it is now must for every human being to make use of a computer and to perform the task with the help of a computer. So when you say you have to communicate and you have to talk to the computer, you need to know certain languages over there. So computer, as I said, understands only binary language, but there are translators available for a language called C, for a language called C++, for a language called Python, for a language called Java, and so on. Now you may again have a question over here. Why is that I have to learn so many languages and why not only one particular language? When I have to communicate with the computer, as I said, you require to know the language of a computer. So which can be C with a translator, C++ with the help of a translator, Python, Java. So your question is valid here. Why I have to again learn so many languages? If I mastered one particular language, is it not sufficient? Answer for that, depending on a branch that you have selected, you may need to go only for C language. If you may need to go with C++, Python, Java, and so on. So a question that comes is, why so many languages? Because every language is designed with a purpose. Not that everything I can do with every language. You may master a language. If you are mastering a language called C, you may write some applications with C. It may be useful for electronic students for writing your embedded programs. But if you want to write something on internet, or if you want to do programming on internet, the language called C or C++ may not support us. So I have to learn languages like Python, I have to learn language called Java, and so on. So as I said, every language is designed with a purpose. So accordingly, we are supposed to learn these particular languages. So you may again have a question over here. How long we need to learn the languages? Because every often you see a new language coming up in the market. The answer for that, yes. Dear students, you have to learn till you are settled in a job. But learning certain languages at the beginning, like C, C++, Python, Java, and so on, and if you are mastering some of these languages, then any language that comes in future, you can easily understand that, you can easily write programs with that, as you have the basics of all this. So if you know the basics of C language, you can very well understand other languages like C++, Python, Java, and so on. So any new coming language tomorrow, you don't have to go to a teacher and then learn. You can do it on your own because of the experience and the mastery that you have in the previous languages and all. So a question that comes is, how many languages I have to learn? The answer for that is, as long as we have the capacity to learn, we need to keep on learning and all. Because in this competitive world, if you have to stay ahead, it is definite that you need to do something new every time. And you as with a young brain, you can definitely do the wonders and so on. So that is where we are talking about communication with the help of with the computers, with the help of languages like C, C++, Python, Java, and so on. So as a human being, we'll be writing the programs using these languages, and then we are going to make use of the compilers, which will help us to translate this language into a low level language and so on. So these languages basically are classified into three types. One, you call it as a low level language. The second one, you call it as a middle level language, and the third one, you call it as a high level language. So what exactly is low level language? Low level language is wherein we talk about, or we need to communicate with the computer using zeros and ones. High level is all about wherein you can communicate with the computer with English like language and so on. So a programming language which supports writing a program in low level language as well as high level language, you can also call it as a middle level language. In low level language, you can write programs using zeros and ones. As well, you can write programs over here using abbreviations. Abbreviations like, you can say add A, B, something like this. So when you talk about abbreviations, you can say add A space, that is A with B, and so on. So if you are able to write program in a particular language using abbreviations or using zeros and ones, then you call it as low level language. And if you are able to write a program using English, then you call it as high level language. So if a programming language supports low level as well as high level, then you say it is a middle level programming language. So as we know, C supports writing of programs using abbreviations and writing of programs using English like language. Then you say C is a middle level language. These abbreviations over here, this language is again given some name, what you call it as assembly language and so on. So if I can write a program using assembly language and English language, then I can say C is a middle level language because it supports writing a program in low level as well as it supports writing a program in high level and so on. Okay. Next, coming to who has developed C and when it was developed and so on. So C language was developed by Dennis Ritchie And he has done this somewhere in 1970s, precisely to say 1972 and so on. We do not give exact date over here, like an invention of a bulb or a TV and so on. We say it is developed in 1970s. It might be because development of a language will not happen in a particular day on a particular day. So we say it is developed in 70s, precisely 1972 and so on. This particular language was developed in order to design an operating system called Unix operating system. So Dennis Ritchie was interested to design an operating system called as Unix. So in order to design this operating system, he has designed a language called C language and so on. So now that we need to learn what are the various advantages of this particular language. So first of all, we say C is a middle level language. As I told you, it supports both low level and high level. And the second advantage that you get is it is a portable language. Portable language, you mean you can write the program on one system and you can carry it onto any other system with little modifications over there. You can make use of the program on the other system. That is, portable is basically easy to carry. So you can carry the program written on one system onto any other system and you can make use of that particular program or execute the program on the other system. So we can call it as portable language. It is also called a procedural language. So coming to a procedural language, we'll try to understand here terms like, before that we'll understand terms like program, terms like software and so on. So let's understand first what exactly we mean by a program. So dear students, as we know, when you want to perform some task with the help of a computer, it's very simple. When you have to perform some task with the help of a computer, what all you need to do is you need to provide instructions to the computer. So you can provide the instructions to the computer in terms of C language, which is much similar to that of your English. So when you provide the instructions to the computer in terms of C language, the translator in the middle will take your program, that is instruction, and then it will convert and then it will hand over to the system and so on. So the instructions that you give in order to perform a particular task with the help of a computer, those set of instructions, you can call it as a program. So if someone asks you, have you written a program? Meaning of that is, he is asking us, have you given instructions to the computer to perform some task? For example, say, if you want to perform addition of 3 numbers with the help of a computer, how is that you are going to do this? So you will tell your computer, dear computer, accept first number. Then you can tell your computer, dear computer, accept the value of second number. You can tell the computer, accept, dear computer, accept the third number. So what your computer is going to do? It is going to accept first number, value of first number, suppose say like this, second number and third number. So your computer has accepted the numbers for you. Now what is that you need to tell your computer? You need to tell your computer, add first number with second and with third. So what your computer is going to do? It is going to add these numbers and it is going to give you the result. Then you need to tell the computer, display the result that is generated. So what exactly you have done, students? You said accept first number, you said accept second number, you said accept third number. So you have given some instructions to the computer over there. You do this, you do this, you do this. Then computer has done the work for you. Then you are supposed to tell the computer what next the computer has to do after accepting these numbers. So you need to tell add the first number with the second, add the second number with the third, or add all the three numbers. So you need to provide instruction to the computer in the form of a language called C. So then computer will perform the task which you talk about, and then you need to tell the computer show the result or display the result. Then the computer will tell the result of addition is 60 and so on. So if you can provide these kind of instructions to the computer, then you say you have written a program for the computer. So it is as simple as that. So if you take our day-to-day life, you do a lot of programs in day-to-day life. Only the difference is you may not communicate with the computer for that. But if you want to make some work happen, if you want to tell the cook what to prepare today, you provide some instructions to the cook. Do this, do this, do this. This is what I want. That's nothing but a program. It is called as a program as you communicate with the help of a computer over here. So what exactly is a program now? You don't have to by heart this, right? You give some instructions to the computer, the instructions to perform the task, but these instructions should be in a particular sequence. You cannot make them up and down and so on. You cannot first say add first number with the second and third, and then you cannot say accept the numbers, right? We know that. So sequence of instructions that you provide to the computer, which we provide to the computer, in order to perform a specific task. You can refer this as a program. It's clear. Sequence of instructions that you give in a particular sequence. If I follow the sequence, I should know what is that task it is going to perform. So such instructions, when you put together, you can call it as a program. Now the question that comes, what exactly we mean by a software? How a program differs from software? You might hear from your friends, relatives, neighbors, sisters, elder sister, brothers and all, your parents, I'm a software programmer. What do you mean by that? What do you understand by someone saying I'm a software programmer? So meaning of that is, the work of a person over there is to write the programs. They have to write a program in order to perform some task. Maybe the size of the programs over there may be larger. So if I'm writing a program which takes care of the process related to a bank, then I can say I'm a software developer and I have written a program for a bank. So software again is nothing but a program that you write. So software can be defined as, it is a program, or you can also call it as group of programs. So when you write a program or group of programs, you can say you have designed or developed a software. So the definition of the software and the definition of the program can be one and the same. Because ultimately software I do to perform some task, maybe of a larger scale, and group of programs when I put together and perform a particular task, I can also refer to it as software. So a software can be designed for bank application so that you can perform all the banking transactions. A software can be designed for a university to give the results of the student. A software can be designed in order to get the admissions in a college. A software can be designed in order to process the visa. A software can be designed in order to give the passport. A software can be designed in order to give the Aadhaar card and so on. So these are all nothing but the programs which someone has written. And these programs will cater to the need of the human being. In order to perform banking application, in order to perform university operations, in order to have admissions in a college or university, in order to process the visa, in order to issue the passports, Aadhaar card and so on. So when you say you are writing or you are developing a software, meaning of that is you are trying to instruct a computer in such a way that your computer understands what you are instructing and tries to perform the task as per your need. So that is where you say you are a software developer. So ultimately when you are working with a computer, you have to become a software developer, which means you should know how to instruct a computer. Now a software developer, if you are developing a program or giving the instructions using C language, you say you are a developer of C. You are a developer using C++. You are a developer, or you can call yourself as a Java developer, Python developer, and so on. So the need of the hour is, irrespective of the field that you choose, you have to be with the computers. Reason for that is, even if you are a mechanical student, you have to design a car with the help of computers only. If you are an electronic student, you have to design and you have to test the components with the help of computers only. If you are a civil engineer, you have to design the bridges and all, firstly with the help of computers only. So you cannot say computers is not my bread and butter. You cannot say C language is not meant for me. No. You have to study this, and definitely students, it is going to be very, very interesting for you. Provided initially you need to focus much on this. You need to practice more on this and so on. Fine. So as we said, this language is designed and developed by Dennis Ritchie, and so we'll try to get into details about this particular language. First of all, we'll try to understand, we were discussing about the advantages, so we'll try to understand C as a procedural language. C is a procedural language because the instructions that you provide over here are executed in a particular sequence. Okay, so you will come to know more about procedural language, object-oriented programming language as we progress. So just for a while, you just remember procedural language is wherein the instructions that we are going to provide to the computer using C program will be executed one after the other in a particular sequence. We said it is portable language. Then C has got something called memory management. So these are big terms. We don't have to get into much details about this right now. C performs the concept of memory management. That means C programming language allocates the memory, deallocates the memory as and when required, and so on. So we'll discuss more about this, and you will try to get details about this once we complete some 2 units and so on in C language. So I'll straight away jump here from this introduction to the structure of C programming or C program. So how is that one has to write a C program? We'll try to understand that. But before we get into the structure of C program, let's understand over here what exactly we mean by a compiler, which is otherwise also called as a library or libraries we say. Okay, let's understand here about a variable. Let's understand a term over here called constant and so on. So when you talk about a compiler, as we said, compiler is one which we are going to make use of in order to convert our high level language into a low level language. A program of high level language can be converted into low level language by making use of a compiler. So what exactly is this compiler? Is it a hardware? Is it a chip inside our computer? The answer for that, dear students, it is not a hardware device. Compiler is not a hardware device. Compiler is a software. Compiler is a software which will accept your program written in C language. So what you are going to do now, you are going to write a program in C language, and this is going to be given, or this program is to be given to the compiler, and the work of the compiler is to translate into low level language and back to C programming language or English like language and so on. So when you talk about this compiler, your compiler is a software. As I told you again, the task of the compiler is to convert one language into another language. So these compilers do have lot of files, what we call them as header files, or you also call, there are a lot of libraries available in the compiler. So that means compiler will provide us so many programs which are useful in order to write our own programs. You call them as header files, libraries, standard libraries, and so on. So basically what I want to tell you here is a compiler is a software which consists of so many files. So if you open your compiler and see, there are some hundreds of files which are used in order to write this software called a compiler. So some of these files we also will make use of while we write our program over there. We'll try to understand that in detail. See this. So let's understand here again a term called a variable. So what exactly we mean by a variable and what exactly we mean by a constant. So let's understand these two terms so that we can progress and write a simple program in C language. So when you talk about a variable, then I say if the value of a particular thing changes from time to time, then you call it as a variable. If the value of a particular thing changes from time to time, then you call it as a variable. Can you give some examples of variable? Day-to-day life example. Temperature is a variable. Humidity is a variable. Yes, time is a variable. Your name also I can consider it as variable because it may be something in a college, something at home. So I can call it as a variable. So what I am trying to say, anything that changes from time to time, you can call it as a variable. So if you are writing a particular program, suppose say you are writing a program and if the value of A at the beginning of the program is say 100 and if the 10, and at the end of the program if the value of A is going to be 100, then you say it is a variable. A is a variable over there. But if the value of A at the beginning of the program is say 10 and if the value of A at the end of the program is 10, then you say it is constant. So as I told you, examples of variable, you can say general examples like temperature, you can say example like humidity. You can also consider your name as a variable or constant, that depends, it may not be the same. So if I say gravitational force also I can consider it as a variable as well as constant, that depends. If I am present only at one place, then it is a constant. But if I am moving from the earth to the moon, gravitational force I can take it as a variable and so on. So what exactly you need to understand about a variable? If the value of it at the beginning of the program is 10 and if it is going to change till the end of the program or in the middle of the program, then you call it as a variable. But if a value of a particular thing is same throughout the program, then you can call it as a constant. Example of constant, again as I told you, your name can be a constant if it is same at home and as well as in the college. Gravitational force is constant. The normal temperature of the human being is constant. The temperature in the refrigerator is constant and so on like. So a variable can be a constant can be a variable. But there are certain constants like pi. The value of that is never going to change if you are present on the earth or on the moon. So then you call it as a constant. So variable is the value which is going to change from time to time, and constant is the value of which is going to remain the same from the beginning of the program till end of the program. Now why these things are required for us? Let's try to understand that. So basically we'll try to move on to structure of C programming language. See, these are all discussed to you in the class by your faculty member. So only to see that you have a strong basics, okay, we are trying to work with this particular concept. Not that you have not learned this in a class. Definitely you have learned this and you have done it in a better way. Structure of C programming language. So when you start writing a program of C, what is that you need to write first? What next you have to write? How is that you have to give the instructions is what we have to learn over here. So whenever you are writing the program of C, the first thing that you need to write, you may find it very new, dear students, at the very beginning. Reason for that is the way we write a program is very new for us. So you need to initially do more of practice so that you can master this particular language. Okay. So how is that a program has to be written? The first thing that you need to write, the first line on your program can be something like hash include. You are supposed to say stdio.h. Now a question that comes is, what is hash, what is include, what is stdio, and then what is these angular brackets and all. So when you are writing a program, you need to follow something called a syntax of the program, a syntax of a statement. So now again a new term, what is syntax for me? See, if you are writing any letter in English, or when you write something in English, you follow something called the syntax in English. Syntax in English is nothing but a grammar in English. So similar to grammar in English, you are supposed to follow a syntax in programming languages, whether it is C, C++, Python, Java, and so on. You are supposed to have the syntax. You need to remember the syntax. Now the first line that we write needs to be written like this. You are supposed to say hash include angular bracket stdio.h. Now all the characters that you write, whenever you type the program over here, your program has to be in lowercase letters only. Now you may say again, why lowercase only? Again, as I told you, only when you write it in lowercase, your compiler can understand it. Otherwise, the compiler will give an error for us. So do remember, when you write a program of C, it is a case sensitive language, which means you are supposed to write the program only in lowercase. You will get practice about all this. It's not a difficult task for us. Only thing you need to do at the beginning, you try to practice more. The more you practice, the more interest you gain. The more interest you gain, the wonderful programs you design and so on. So you will get addicted if you are comfortable with writing programs and all, as you get addicted while playing the games and so on. So the first statement that you are going to write in your program is called hash include stdio. So this particular statement, when you write, it is called preprocessor directive. What it is called? It is called preprocessor directive, which means what? This particular statement is going to execute before your program is compiled. Compiled means translated. So what this preprocessor directive we are using for? This will tell your compiler to include stdio.h. Stdio over there means it is called a standard input output file. So you are saying to the compiler, include the standard input output file, where the file is present in the compiler in my program. So you are telling that include the file called as stdio, which is present in a compiler, into my program and so on. Now a question again comes is, why is that this file you are supposed to include in your program? Good question over there, because we are supposed to make use of this particular file in our program. Just a minute. We are supposed to make use of this file in our program so that this file will help us to communicate with input output device, standard input output device, which means if you are not going to mention this particular file on the top of the program, your program may not be able to communicate with the standard input output devices. The program may not be able to communicate with your keyboard, may not be able to communicate with your output device called monitor and so on. Examples of input devices, it can be something like your keyboard, it can be something like a mouse and so on, scanner. All these can be considered as input devices, because with the help of these devices we can provide or feed the information to the computer. So the information, if you are able to feed with a particular device, it can be termed as an input device through which you can get the information within a computer. And a device on which you can display the information or the data, you call it as an output device. Example for that, it can be something like your monitor, it can be something like your printer, it can be something like your plotter, and so on. So these are the various input devices, output devices. So when you are writing a program, definitely you make use of input as well as output devices. So in order to have communication with these input and output devices, it is must that you need to include a file on the top called stdio.h. This particular file is a ready-made file designed and developed by the designer of a compiler. So this file will tell our program to make use of input device, output device in a perfect manner. Now apart from this, you may also include so many other files. Like you may say include math.h. Writing of the second statement math.h is not compulsory, but it is compulsory to write stdio, because in every program you will make use of input and output device. So include math.h is an optional one. So if you are working with some mathematical program, for example, say if you are working with some trigonometric functions and all, then you need to know the value of sine 30, cos 30 and so on. Then you can pick up the values from this particular file. It's a ready-made file, again available to us in our compiler. So you can include that. So if you are making use of or if you are trying to work with strings in the sense, if you are trying to work with a group of characters, for example, say if you are trying to work with MRC, and then if you want to add this with Secunderabad and so on, if you want to add them, if you want to find out how many times M is available, C is available, E is available and so on, then you can always make use of a file on the top. What do you call it as? String.h. So as I told you, your compiler consists of so many header files. .h is to say it is a header file. So the syntax to call a file is to say hash include within angular brackets only. You are supposed to write the name of the header file. Angular brackets to indicate over there this is a ready-made file. Now you can also create a file of your choice in this fashion, and you can also include it. As you progress, you will try to understand that also. So right now what we are trying to understand over here is how to write a program of C, and what is that first line I need to write. What do you call that as? Preprocessor directive. So these files will be included in your program before execution of your program and so on. So if your program is of say 5 lines, then these files may have some 100 lines. Then when you compile a program, altogether it will compile 105 lines. So 5 lines of yours which you have written, and the 100 lines of a ready-made file called stdio and so on. Okay. So writing of the first line is compulsory, rest of them is optional and so on. So first thing that you do, you say hash include stdio and so on. Then you can write here a function called main. You have to write like this. What exactly you mean by this again? Now here you may say this as a function. Now you may say what exactly is a function? Again a new term for us and so on. So whenever you try to write a program of C language, you are going to write the program of C language in the form of functions. Okay. And out of all the functions that you make use of or write, there will be one function, or there should be one function called as a main function. So you may have to write, or you have to write in every program, a function called main. So you have to say MAIN in small case followed by this parenthesis. This is called a main function. So in your program you may have n number of functions over there. For example, say when you are writing a program, you may have a function in this fashion. I'll just show you. So you may have a function over there, what you call it as add function. You may write a function over there called multiply function. You may write a function over there called divide function, and so on. But then when you club all these functions, you cannot call it as a program unless you write a function over there. What do you call that function? As a main function. So when you write a main function and then when you put all these things together, then you say you have written a program over there. So all these things put together, you can call it as a program. So which means what again? A program, as I said, series of instructions. So here also you are going to provide the instructions, but these instructions will be given to you in the form of functions. It is not compulsory that you will write so many functions in every program. Your program can only have main function. Sorry. So when you write a program, you have to write at least one function in your program, and what you call that particular function as a main function. A main function again consists of what? Multiple instructions, series of instructions. Divide function, if you are writing, may have multiple instructions. Similarly, multiply, add, and all. How many functions you write in a program is not important. It is compulsory otherwise to write a function called main function, because your program starts execution from a function called main function. You may again have a question like, why is that we are complicating the program by dividing into parts and so on? Dear students, one thing we always need to remember: we can fight with anyone, we can rule anything, provided you divide it. It's difficult to fight or make 100 people to understand something. So you divide them into 10 parts. You can easily talk with 10 people and you can make them understand what you want. The policy which East India Company used to do, divide and rule. So in the similar way, when you are writing a program, you divide your program into parts. It is as good as, suppose say, you have a party at home. And then in order to see that the party happens in a proper way, if suppose say you alone or your father alone is say working for the party, your father is taking care of food, your father is taking care of decoration, your father is taking care of the guest, your father is managing the finance, he is talking to all the people, then what happens? If one person is doing the task for the party, then definitely he will be overburdened over there, and then he will be strained, and because of that he may not be able to perform the task on time and in a proper manner. So what is that he has to do? He has to say, my dear kid, you take care of food, you take care of decoration, you take care of guests, and then he should monitor everyone. It's like a principal monitors all the HODs, all the departments, and so on. So if we are able to divide the task, then what happens is the task, when you divide, becomes very small so that it is easy for a person to perform, and then there can be one person to monitor and so on. So this way you can write a program wherein you can divide the program into parts, and each part of this program you can call it as a function. Just a minute. Sorry, dear student. So what we are trying to say is, when you write a program, not compulsory to write a program into many parts, many functions. It is must that you should write a function called main. As you progress, you will also understand how to write multiple functions. But to start with, you should remember you are supposed to write a function, and the name of the function has to be main. Now a question that comes is, why is that I should write a function with int and so on. As we progress, once you study data types and all, you will come to know what is int, main and so on. But just for a while, remember that when you write a main function, you should write it as int, that is integer main. Function has to be followed by these parentheses, and then the start of the function is indicated by using the brace called the start of the function is indicated in this fashion. And the end of the function is indicated by the closing curly brackets. So this indicates the start of the function, this indicates the end of the function, and so on. And now once you start the function, that is called a main function. Within a function, what is that you are going to do? You are going to perform variable declaration. So now again a new term, variable. Variable we already discussed. What is declaration of a variable and all? We'll try to understand. And then you are supposed to write here the statements of C language. So you are supposed to understand here or write here the statements of C language. So when you write a function called main function, within that function you are supposed to declare the variables, and within that function you are supposed to write the functions, that is statements of C language. So this is how your program has to look like. As we progress, we will try to understand how to define the constants over there, how to write multiple functions and so on. Just for a while, to start up with a simple program, I want to give you this structure. You should write your program with a preprocessor directive called #include stdio.h, followed by a main function, and within the main function, if required, you will write the variables and you will perform declaration of a variable. Declaration of a variable is nothing but you are supposed to say these are the variables that I am going to make use of. If I am using name, if I am using balance, if I am using that is amount, so you need to declare them. You need to tell your program these variables I am going to make use of at the beginning. It is something like we give a name for a kid when the kid is born and so on, so that later you can refer with that name and so on. So once you declare the variables, then you are supposed to write the statements of C language. So we'll try to just learn two statements, or a particular statement called output statement now, so that I can show you how to write a program using online compiler. So we'll try to understand here an output statement of C language. So the output statement is basically a statement which helps you to display the data on output device. It can be your monitor, it can be your printer and so on like. So the output statement that is available to us in C language, you call it as printf. Printf, and then you are supposed to write here if you want a constant value, and if at all you are writing a constant value, it has to be in double quotes. If you are printing or displaying only one character, it has to be in single quotes and so on. As we progress, we'll discuss more options on this. So you are supposed to say print f, and then in print is to display, f is to say format, the format in which you want to display. And if it is a constant value, constant means a value which is not going to change, like my name, I'll just type it in this fashion. Parenthesis, and every statement, understand this, every statement that you write in C language has to be closed, has to be terminated with semicolon. Like in English, we terminate a particular statement by using a period, full stop, whereas over here you need to terminate with the help of a semicolon, which is must, otherwise you are bound to get an error over there. Dear students, I'll show you one program. We can stop. I understand listening so much of theoretical things, okay, may be difficult, I understand that. Okay, anyways, so then we'll try to write a program over here with the help of this. So what you need to do for that is go to your browser. What you do over there is you make use of a compiler which is available in a ready-made form called as, in a browser you type repl.it, okay, and press enter. repl.it and you press enter. It is taking some time. My system got overloaded because of so many software that I am running. Anyways, and then you click over there, create a REPL for a language called C. So you click on C and then you say create REPL. So then it opens up a software, a compiler, which you can make use of in order to write a C program. So by default, it will give you one program, and it will also save the program with a name called main.c. So you can save the program with any name of your choice, but you are supposed to write a program using this particular software. It's an online software which is very easy to use. You don't have to install anything, and then you can compile it immediately and see the result side by only. So now I want /. This is treated as comment, meaning your compiler, when translating, it will not do anything for this particular statement. You will not get any problem with this statement, which is written in /* close by //. You can as well do like this. You can also write double quotes over there, that is // you can write, and you can write whatever things you like over there and so on. So this is to go with a single line comment, and the first one is to do multi-line comment. Multi-line means I can have a comment using multiple lines over here, something like this. See this. So my comments can go on for n number of lines, and then I need to start with /*, close with //. Okay, so these are the two ways in which you can perform commenting in a particular program, and this can be written anywhere in the program, not compulsory that it should be at the beginning of the program only. So you can start the name, or you can start the program by writing the name of the program, so that you understand what the program is all about. Okay, then you go with a program wherein you will start by saying #include stdio.h. So you get things over here in a ready-made form. You get pop-up here, which becomes very easy for you to write the program. And if there is any error, immediately it will tell you about that error also. Okay, you have written that. You have written the preprocessor directive. Now what is next that you need to do? You need to say int main. Sometimes you may write void main, sometimes you may write int main and all. You will easily and comfortably you will understand why to write all this when you go with the concept of functions and so on. Okay, then you need to start up in this fashion. It will automatically close and so on. So this is the structure. Go with the preprocessor directive, write your main function. Now what is that you want to do? You just want to say hello, right? So you have to use an output statement, and that statement is printf. What do you say? Hello dear students, and put semicolon over there. Okay, and then followed by, you have to write here a statement called return 0. Here I am saying integer, so I should write here return 0. So just for a while, remember return 0 you have to write, integer main you have to write. Now why and all, you will definitely have questions. This is what we need to discuss once you get into functions and so on. So if you are writing integer main, you will write return 0. If you are writing void main, you don't have to write this return 0 and so on. So if you are working on this online compiler, better you write integer and better you write here return 0 at the end. Just for a while, remember it. Okay, now you have done this. Your program automatically gets saved with the name as main.c. Okay, and then what you need to do, you have written a program. So when you write a program of C you have written. Now what is that next thing you have to do? You have to compile the program. You have to compile this program, and your program of C now gets converted to OBJ. For example, say your program name is main.c. Now what happens here is it gets converted to main.obj, and then you have to run the program so that it gets converted to main.exe. Just try to understand here, students. You will write a program. That program, when you save, you call it as a C program, which will have an extension as .c. Now after writing this program, if you are doing with some other software, you have to do in 2 steps. You have to compile the program. So compilation of a program is to check for the correctness of the program in terms of syntax. Understand this very well. You have written some program, right? Now that program has got some syntax. So whether what you have written, is it following the syntax or not? If you want to check that, you have to compile your program, and if your program is perfect, then this main.c file will get converted to main.obj file, that is object file, which has a data in terms of binary language. Now this file will be created only when there is no problem with your program that you have written. Now once it is correct, once it is syntax wise correct, then you have to run the program. So when you run the program, this main.obj file gets converted to main.executable file. So this file you can directly execute in order to see the output of the program. So just understand, there may be a question to you. What are the files that are created when you compile your program? So your answer is, you will create a file called main.c. It is converted to main.obj, it is converted to main.exe, and so on. So now what do you do here? You just say run here, that's all. So then immediately you get here output, hello dear student, that's it. So you don't have to do it on other software, install other software, and so on. It's a hassle-free software which you can use for C, C++, and so on, Python, and so on. So this software you need not to install, and so on. Fine. Yeah. Now if I want to put more messages, if I want to display more things about a student, or if I want to inform something to a student, I can say printf, dear students, please subscribe my channel. Okay. So dear students, I am requesting you again to please subscribe to my channel. The name of the channel is the name of the channel that I make use of. Then you can see over there, it is Tech Basics channel. So dear students, I am requesting you, go to Tech Basics channel, please subscribe it. If you want my videos and videos when I upload, please press the bell icon over there. Okay, now you have written a program which has to display now, hello dear students, it has to display the name Tech Basic, it has to display this message. Run the program. See there, but everything you got in one line and you are not able to understand it clearly. So after I print hello dear students, after I print Tech Basics, after I print dear students, I want to have change of line. So for that, what I need to do is, after I say dear students, I should say \n. Now this is again new for us, \n. So wherever you write \n, meaning of that is, after displaying dear students, \n will help you to change the line. This is what you call it as escape sequence. As we progress, we'll learn more about escape sequence. So \n, if you write one time, it will go to the next line. If you write two times, it will give 2 lines gap, 3 times 3 line gaps. N number of times you can write \n, but it has to be written only in your printf statement. So this was the output that you got earlier. Now if I run the program, you can see the output over there. You got everything on a separate line. That is because you have given \n over there in order to see that the line changes after displaying a particular statement. Okay. So dear students, try to practice this program and try to practice more at the beginning so that you can learn more things and you get addicted with the program, so that you will find a lot of interest in writing the program and so on. So I also want to tell you one important thing. I have written a book on C language. I'll just show you that. So just try to programming on. So I have written a book, and that book of mine is now available on Amazon. This book is You can easily purchase this book from Amazon. Okay, and this book will be useful for you for coming. This book will be useful for you for coming 4 years. This book will not only teach you about C language, this book will also tell you about the programs which are asked by the companies like TCS, Wipro, and so on. You will find multiple unsolved examples here, solved examples over here, and the approach to write a program. Apart from that, you will also get some introduction about computers, about programming languages, and so on. So you can find this book on Amazon. Dear students, you can definitely buy this book, useful for you for coming 4 years. It's not compulsory, it is your choice. It is my book. I am an author in this. You can see my name over there. I am one among the author. The other authors are from IIT and so on. So you can prefer this book. You can make use of this for entire 4 years of study. See, you need to have certain books like advocate. You see some books at the back, right? So in the similar way, an engineer should also have at least some 25 books when you complete your engineering and so on. So definitely you are supposed to purchase some books like some programming languages books, which are the basic ones, and then you can purchase some books of operating system, database, and so on as you progress. So this is your choice. It's not compulsory. I'm just trying to tell you about my book. It's a book with 729 pages. It's a big one, voluminous book, useful for entire 4 years span and so on. And this gives all the details related to C language, the programs which are asked by multinational companies and so on. With the solutions, it is provided to you. This is just launched 4 days back on Amazon, and already if you see, hard copy is not available, only Kindle copy is available over there. So as and when the hard copies are coming, it is getting exhausted. So we requested Amazon and as well as the publisher to put more hard copies so that student can purchase and all. Don't go with the Kindle copy. It is e-copy. If you want, you can get a book which is a hard copy and so on. Okay, so try to visit Amazon, check this, and also see that I should get your subscription on my channel. Okay, that is Tech Basics and all. So put your comments to me. I'll try to give you my number. Try to give me the comments whether you like my session or not. What best you have what is that best thing that you like about my session? Shall I continue my session further or not? You can always give me the comments directly. My number I'll give you over there, my phone number. You can just go with my phone number and try to give me the comments on WhatsApp. This is my WhatsApp number. I'll give you my WhatsApp number there. This is my WhatsApp number. Try to give me the feedback, okay, about how the session was and so on. Like 9885303678. So this is my number, okay. So thank you students for listening patiently for 1.5 hour. Okay, more if you want, we can have classes in this way as and when I get a time, and then as and when your faculty members permits me to do so and so on. Fine. So I'll stop over here with the session right now. Thank you. How was the session, dear students? You can leave that message in the chat. I've given my number. You can just go through that. Thank you, students. I'm definitely encourage, charge with your comments that you have given. As and when we get time, we'll try to go with the classes in this fashion so that you can have a kind of revision and you will be the best in programming in the coming 4 years. So I wish you all the best and hope when you become or when you complete your final year, you will be the masters with the programming languages. Thank you, students. I'll stop the session now. Thank you for the comments. Really, I'm charged with the comments. Good to see the comments. Okay, your feedback will definitely help us to improve.